Artificial intelligence just got his own jalapeno. And that's not a metaphor. OpenAI built a computer chip and named it, well, Jalapeno. Company says the chip can serve artificial intelligence faster while using less power, maybe more spicy. Well, on that same day, OpenAI released an administrative tool that can watch company usage, change permissions, manage spending limits, and handle routine requests through a conversation. Then the United States government published research saying businesses often cannot clearly connect their artificial intelligence plans to the economic results they expected. We bought in a little too quick, apparently. The machine is getting faster, management is getting easier, proof is still wandering around the parking lot trying to find the entrance. And that's our show today. Three developments for the last 24 hours. One custom chip, one administrative tool, and one government report carrying a bucket of cold water, and one question running through all three. Are we creating more value, or are we getting better at describing the value we hope to create? OpenAI published that first measured results for Jalapeno, custom chip built specifically to run artificial intelligence models. Inference is the part where a trained model actually answers us. Training is the school, inference is the shift after graduation when somebody finally expects the kid to earn rent. OpenAI says Jalapeno completed between 1.5 and 1.9 times more artificial intelligence work per watt at peak throughput than the commercial systems in its comparison. It also reported between 1.7 and 3.6 times lower to end-to-end delay across three public models. That means more answers from the same amount of electricity with less waiting. The company tested the chip with a public benchmark called Inference X. A benchmark is a standardized test for machines. It's the artificial intelligence version of lining up 10 pickup trucks, loading them with concrete, and seeing which one gets over the hill without leaving a transmission laying on the asphalt. Now, here's the catch. OpenAI built the truck, picked the setup, and of course, ran the test and published the brochure. The benchmark's public, the reported numbers are specific. That's better than a stage presentation full of glowing circles and the word revolutionary spelled incorrectly. But these are still company results. They're not yet an independent verdict from years of production use. OpenAI says it plans to begin deploying Jalapeno inside its own computer systems by the end of the year. Plans are not deployments. The chip is real enough to measure, but the promised economic effect is still ahead of us. Why does this matter to a family, a worker, a small business owner who's never spent a morning comparing token latency? Well, because that cost of running artificial intelligence decides where it can go. When each answer becomes cheaper and faster, artificial intelligence stops being something we visit for a clever paragraph, but it starts becoming something that stays on the job. It can answer every phone call, review every incoming document, watch every service request. Now, check every invoice, follow every customer conversation, not because it suddenly developed a work ethic, but because somebody removed the meter that made the constraint attention too expensive. Well, the name Jalapeno is almost too perfect. The chip makes the system hotter, faster, and cheaper. Somewhere a marketing department looked at a 700-watt processor and said, what this needs is the name of something we warn our children not to rub into their eyes. The larger move is not the name. OpenAI is trying to control more of the chain. The models, the software, the chip, the memory, the network, the data centers, the products we use. That's called vertical integration. Plain English, they're trying to own a lot more of the restaurant, not just the recipe. The stove, the delivery truck, the building, and eventually the person asking, you want fries with that? Well, you can lower costs. It can concentrate power. The same company that builds the intelligence could increasingly control the machinery that delivers it. For regular people, the opportunity is real. Cheaper intelligence means smaller businesses can use tools only large companies could afford a few years ago. The guardrail is also real. We should not build a business that becomes helpless when one provider changes a price, removes a model, or tightens access. Use the best tool. Keep our data portable. Keep your instructions documented. Know what the system does when the preferred model is unavailable. A spare tire is boring right up until the freeway shoulder. The same development moves artificial intelligence deeper into management. OpenAI introduced an admin plugin for ChatGPT work and Codex. An administrator can ask questions about workspace activity, review credit usage, add or remove members, change groups, inspect permissions, adjust usage limits, and handle supported requests through a conversation. That tool follows the administrator's existing permissions. It does not magically give somebody access that they didn't already have. And that does matter. The dangerous version of artificial intelligence administrator is not a robot carrying a tie or wearing a tie and carrying a clipboard. It's a system with broad permissions, a vague instruction, and nobody checking what happened after it said it was finished. OpenAI says its own information technology team uses an agent to handle employee requests. The company reports that developed workflows resolved about 45% of ticket volume. It also says support volume roughly doubled while the backlog was eliminated. These are company reported results from the company that's selling the tool. Useful evidence, but not holy scripture. Still, 45% is large enough to matter. At nearly half the routine tickets can be resolved automatically. The human job starts to change. The person is no longer spending the entire day resetting access or finding a policy and explaining it for the 83rd time that turning the laptop off and back on is not a spiritual philosophy. The human can work on exceptions, security judgment, the strange cases where the request sounds normal until we notice the employee left the company 6 months ago and is emailing from a fishing boat near Belize. That's the useful version of artificial deployment. Routine work goes to the machine. Authority stays bounded. Exceptions go to a human. Every action leaves a record, but we need to pressure test the labor story. If one employee becomes 3 times more productive, the company doesn't automatically hire 3 times as many employees. That can also happen if demand can absorb 3 times the output. If the company's a fixed amount of work, management may reduce headcount and keep the productivity gain. That's not pessimism, that's arithmetic wearing work boots. Productivity doesn't have to become unemployment. A company can use the extra capacity to improve service, shorten response times, build products it could never afford, expand into new markets, and let human beings do the judgment-heavy work machines cannot own. But that output or outcome requires a decision. The technology does not choose whether the saved time becomes better service, more growth, shorter work weeks, higher profit, or fewer employees. Management chooses that. And that leads directly to the third development. The United States Bureau of Economic Analysis published a research spotlight examining what businesses expected from artificial intelligence and what actually happened later. The Bureau of Economic Analysis is the governmental group that measures major parts of the economy. It's not selling an artificial intelligence subscription. Its incentive is better measurement, although the researchers clearly state that the available data has limits. The study found that businesses predicted their future artificial intelligence use 6 months ahead with 2 percentage points on average. That sounds impressive. Companies were getting fairly good at predicting whether they would use AI or artificial intelligence. Using it was not the same as getting the result they wanted. The researchers compared reasons companies gave for adopting artificial intelligence with economic measures later. Early adopters sometimes achieved their goals, but often the researchers could not find a clear connection between the original motivation and the later economic result. The data were too coarse to isolate every effect. So this report doesn't prove artificial intelligence failed. It proves something less dramatic and actually more useful. Installing a tool is easy to count. Proving the tool changed the business is harder. We've seen this movie before. The company buys software. Everybody attends a webinar. New dashboard appears. 3 people receive a certificate. 6 months later, nobody remembers the password, but the annual renewal knows exactly where that credit card lives. Adoption is not value. Activity is not value. Prompts entered are not value either. Reports generated are not value. Value is the customer reached faster, the mistake caught before it left the building, the invoice collected sooner, the product shipped that could not be built before, the hour returned to a human being. The deep question today is whether cheaper intelligence automatically creates more economic activity. OpenAI argues that efficiency can make more uses affordable. Economists call this the Jevons paradox. When a resource becomes more efficient, total use can rise because new uses become practical. That can happen with artificial intelligence. Cheaper answers can create services that did not exist with every task required an expensive professional. A small business could review every consumer call instead of sampling 5. A family could compare confusing medical bills before making calls. A worker could rehearse a difficult conversation with the words, "Stop getting stuck behind the ribs." Well, cheaper supply doesn't mean manufacturer demand by itself. If a bakery can produce 3 times as many cakes, but the town still eats the same number of cakes, We don't have an ambulance or an abundance miracle. We have a freezer problem. The opportunity is to use extra capacity for work that was previously ignored. Faster follow-up, better documentation, new offers, more personal service, deeper checking. That's how productivity can become growth instead of a headcount meeting with a suspiciously cheerful calendar title. Now, there's another mistake hiding in the productivity story. We keep measuring how fast the machine produces the first draft. We do not always measure how long the human spends checking it. If artificial intelligence writes a proposal in 4 minutes and a person spends 2 hours finding the invented numbers, we didn't save 2 hours. We bought a very fast liar and assigned somebody to follow it around with a mop. That doesn't make the tool useless. It means the quality control belongs inside the measurement. The same applies at home. Artificial intelligence can compare insurance plans, summarize a school policy, organize a family budget, or explain a medical bill. That can save real time, but the final decision still touches our money, our children, and our health. The tool can prepare the table, but it doesn't get to decide what the family eats. This is where regular people can outperform companies with larger budgets. A small operation can see the entire workflow. We know who called. We know what went wrong. We know whether the consumer came back. Large companies can buy a failed artificial intelligence product under 11 departments, 4 dashboards, and a meeting called strategic enablement alignment. But by the time everybody agrees it didn't work, the software has a parking space and dental coverage. We can move faster because we can measure closer to the ground. Did the phone get answered? Did the consumer get served? Did the error rate fall? Did we recover time? Did revenue move? Those questions aren't glamorous, but neither is checking the oil. But the engine prefers it to a motivational speech. Here's the practical development example. Take one repeated task in a business. Customer calls are a good example. Do not begin with announcing that artificial intelligence will transform customer experience. That sentence has escaped from too many conference rooms already. Begin with a number. How many calls came in last week? How many were answered? How long did the callers wait? How many needed a human decision? And then give artificial intelligence one narrow job. Answer after hours. Collect the caller's name, reason, urgency, and preferred callback time. Don't let it negotiate prices. Don't let it promise outcomes. Don't let it improve policy because it felt creative after dinner. Run it for 30 days. Compare missed calls, response times, appointments, complaints, and human hours before and after. That's deployment with judgment. Small lane, clear authority, measurable result, human escalation. The guardrail is permissions. An artificial intelligence system should receive the least authority required to do its job. Read access before write access, draft before send, recommendation before approve, one consumer record before the entire database. The speed of the machine makes permission mistakes more dangerous, not less. A person can make one bad change before lunch. An automated system can make 10,000 and still be early for the meeting. Our move today is simple. Pick one artificial intelligence workflow already running in our life or business. Write down the result it's supposed to create. Write down the number that proves it. Write down the authority it actually needs. If we cannot name the result, the measurement, the boundary, we don't have deployment. We have a science project with access to the company credit card. The chips will get faster. The agents will take more action. The promotional claims will arrive wearing better shoes. Our advantage is not predicting every turn. It's the learning how to measure the distance, control the authority, and make the move that produces a real result. AI for everyone, not just the wealthy. I'm Connor with Honor. We'll see you tomorrow.